name is Cordero Smith. We're doing a dissection of a sheep brain today, lab practicum 4 for Dr. P. And we're going to start with the superior view. Alright, as you can see, we've already removed the dura mater, the meninges, which has the dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. And here we're looking at the superior view of the sheep's brain. First, we're going to start with the lateral fissure, which is this area right here, which separates the temporal lobe from the rest of the cerebrum. And then we have the longitudinal fissure, which goes right down the middle of the brain and separates the hemispheres from left to right. We have our transverse fissure, which is this right here, which separates the cerebrum from the cerebellar. And then we're going to find the difference between the gyrus and sulcus. The gyrus, as you can see, are the actual ridges of the brain, and the sulcus are the pieces that separate them, the grooves. We're going to go to the cerebrum, and actually this whole area is the cerebrum, but the outer layer that we're looking at now is the cerebrum cortex. We have the frontal lobe, which is this area here on both sides. We have the central sulcus, which separates the frontal lobe from the temporal and parietal lobes. This groove right there. Our precentral gyrus and our postcentral gyrus are going to be on both sides of the central sulcus. So our precentral gyrus is this one right here. It goes up, and on this side it does the same. And on our postcentral gyrus, we have it on the opposite side of the central sulcus, and it comes through this way. These two gyrus are the postcentral gyrus. So then we have our parietal lobes. The parietal lobes are located here and here, right behind the frontal lobe. This area here is the parietal lobe. And we have our temporal lobes, which are on the sides. Temporal, it's all on the side. Lateral, We have our occipital lobe, which are the very back of the cerebrum. This area here, this area here. Next we have our cerebellum, which is this little figure down here, which the transverse fissure separates from the cerebrum. This right here is our cerebellar, this little thing. Then within that, we can barely see it, but the midbrain is right in there. Let's take a look at the other side. Midbrain is right in there. Alright, here we have an inferior view of the sheep brain, and we're going to go over a couple nerves, cranial nerves. We have the olfactory nerves on both sides with olfactory bulbs on the tops of them, with the olfactory tract coming down this way. Next we have the optic nerves, which are these two, the optic nerves, with the optic chiasma, basically connecting both sides of the optic nerves, and the optic tract, which stem out laterally on both sides. We have the oculomotor nerves, which are these two, both sides of your oculomotor nerves. Our trochlear nerves, we find those on laterally on both sides, our trochlear nerves. We have our trigeminal nerve next. Trigeminal nerve stems from this area, and here's the other trigeminal nerve right there. And then our appendicus, so these tiny nerves right here on the pons. That's it. Alright, we're looking at the inferior view of the sheep brain. We're going to go over two parts of the brainstem. This area here is the brainstem. And here we can find the pons. And then just below that, we find the medulla oblongata. Pons, medulla oblongata. And the medulla oblongata goes to the spinal cord, which is this area right here. Alright, here we're looking at a mid-sagittal cut of the sheep brain, and we're going to go over a couple structures here. First we have the corpus callosum. All this area here is the corpus callosum. We're going to look at the thalamus. The thalamus can be found in this area. Thalamus. Our third ventricle is this area here. See the space, the third ventricle. Our cerebral aqueduct goes from our third ventricle up to our fourth ventricle. Cerebral aqueduct, fourth ventricle. We have our brainstem, this area here. Brainstem. And our cerebellum, this area above the brainstem. Cerebellum. Alright, well that wraps up our dissection of the sheep brain. We looked at an inferior view, a superior view, and a mid-sagittal cut. And we went over some of the parts of the brain. I'm Cordero Smith from Dr. P's class, and I'll see you next time.